Hi guys, in this tutorial I'm gonna show you step by step how to sew bumbag benno. The pattern comes in 3 different sizes: small, large and medium. This is medium. You have a zipper pocket at the back, the main zipper is concealed and the back is fully lined so that it looks nice from the in and outside. There are dividing seams at the front, and if you want you can add a storage pocket at the inside. You can choose between 3 different fastening options, and you can also wear it crossbody as I do here, or as a classic bum bag. In all sizes, the bag has a rounded shape and therefore perfectly adapts to the body. So that you can better estimate the size of the bag, here I show you what fits into benno size medium. Here I'm wearing the smallest size in a canvas fabric. Thanks to the dividing seams at the front, you can mix and match materials but also colors. And here I show you what fits into my bag size small. And last but not least, here I'm wearing the largest size. As you can see, it's quite wide and therefore perfect to wear as a crossbody bag. And also here I'm showing you what fits into the largest size. To make this bag you will need a regular sewing machine. The required skill level is advanced, beginner to intermediate. It's not the easiest, but you can make it easier for yourself by choosing a simple fabric to work with, which would be a cotton fabric or a canvas fabric. And if you want your bag to look professional, it's important to reinforce the lining as well as the main fabric that I'm going to explain in the next chapter. To make this bag you will of course need fabric. For your main outer fabric, any woven fabric without stretch is suitable, like cotton, canvas, corduroy, twill, jeans or similar, but you can also use fake leather, teddy fabrics or quilted fabrics, but the last 3 ones are more hard to work with, so I wouldn't recommend a beginner to choose those. For the lining I recommend a lightweight woven, preferably cotton, and then you will need 2 kinds of interfacing. The first one is a fusible batting like H630 for the main fabric. It gives the fabric some kind of volume and fluffiness. And then you will need interfacing like H215 for your lining. It gives the bag the sturdiness it needs. And last but not least, you will need zipper tape with a 4 to 6 mm wide teeth spiral plus 2 zipper pullers. Depending on the type of fastener you want to use, you will also need some more materials. For the side release buckle with adjustable strap, you will need 1 side release buckle, 1 slider and webbing all 4 cm wide. You can also make your own webbing. Therefore you would need 16 cm of fabric as well as some more interfacing H250. For the sewn-in adjustable strap, you will need 1 rectangular buckle ring. Alternatively, you can also use a slider. Then you will need 1 more slider and also webbing, all 4 cm wide. And last but not least, for the adjustable interchangeable strap with snap hooks and D-rings, you will need 2 D-rings, 2 snap hooks with D-ring, 1 slider and also webbing, all 4 cm wide. Let's start cutting. Here is a little overview of all the pieces that you will need from main fabric. And here is an overview of all the pieces that you will need from your lining fabric. The storage pocket as well as the zipper pocket are optional. And as always, it's important to transfer all the markings to your fabric with a little notch or with tailor's chalk. We need to transfer the position of the zipper to the zipper pocket, and therefore I will take my pattern piece and cut out the slit. Then take your zipper pocket and transfer the position to the wrong fabric side of your fabric. We also need to mark the position of the storage pocket to our back piece from lining fabric, and therefore I will cut out the corners of the storage pocket position from our back piece. And now place it to your back piece from lining fabric and transfer the position of the corners to the right fabric side using tailor's chalk or any other water-soluble pen. Now we need to press interfacing to our pieces, and here is an overview of all the pieces from main fabric that need to be reinforced with interfacing. You will need different kinds of interfacing based on your fabric. In most cases, if you're using a regular cotton, canvas or similar, you can use fusible bedding H630. It gives your fabric a nice fluffiness, and it's basically some kind of standard bedding that I will use for my project too. If your fabric is already really sturdy or fluffy, you might not need any interfacing at all or a different one. Here you can see the pattern pieces from your lining fabric that will be reinforced with interfacing. As mentioned before, I'm using interfacing H250. It gives the fabric the perfect sturdiness for a professional result. You can either press the interfacing to the full surface of your pattern piece as shown on the left, or you can cut the interfacing 1 centimeter smaller all the way around so that the seam allowance of your pattern piece remains free as shown on the right. Which method is more suitable depends on your personal taste, but also your fabric. I'm using, for example, a lining fabric, which is a simple cotton, and my main fabric is cotton satin. Both are not very thick fabrics, so I will reinforce the full surface. But if you're using a very thick fabric, it might be better to leave out the seam allowances so that the seams won't get too bulky. If you want to go for the option on the right and leave the seam allowances free, you will find a different pattern file with all the pattern pieces without seam allowances, so you can just use those to cut out your interfacing. I will start by pressing interfacing to my lining pieces. I've put parchment paper to my ironing board to protect it, and I've cut out the interfacing roughly and placed my lining pieces with wrong and sticky side of the interfacing together. I'm putting another layer of parchment paper on top to protect my iron, and then just fuse it all together. This way obviously the full surface of my lining pieces is being reinforced. If the seam allowance of your lining pieces remain free and the interfacing pieces are smaller, it's exactly the same method. Always place the wrong fabric side together with the sticky side of your interfacing and put parchment paper at the bottom and top to protect your ironing board and your iron. And at the zipper pocket, we're going to reinforce the slit with a little strip of interfacing. I'm using H250 here too, and I will place it right on top of my marking to the wrong fabric side. This strip should be 2 centimeters longer than your slit and approximately 2.5 centimeters wide. Now we're going to cut out our lining pieces. Now we're going to fuse the fusible bedding to our main fabric pieces, and I've placed them on parchment paper with the wrong fabric side facing up. And now I will put a layer of fusible bedding right on top so that the sticky side of the fusible bedding and the wrong fabric side of my pattern pieces are together. If you already cut out your bedding pieces and they are smaller than your fabric pieces, just place them centered with the sticky and the wrong fabric side being together, and now put a damp cloth on top of everything and then press step by step. Turn off the steam on your iron, and once you're done, let it rest for 10 to 30 minutes in case your fabric became damp too. And last but not least, cut out all the pieces neatly. Since we're using zipper tape, I will now show you how to install the slider. Pull the zipper fully apart with the teeth facing up. Cut out a small piece of teeth out of the left side, approximately 1 centimeter. Now thread the slider to the opposite side with the rounded part first, approximately until the height of the teeth that you just cut out. And now you can thread the other side too by holding both ends firmly. Now just cut off the part without teeth and cut your zipper to size. Now we're going to start sewing the zipper pocket. There are 2 markings at the top of your back piece from main fabric. Grab your pocket piece and place it right sides facing to your back piece from main fabric so that it lays right between those top markings. Pin it in place roughly. Now we're going to stitch right on the slit marking with a regular straight stitch, and as here are corners, leave your needle in the fabric as soon as you reach a corner. Lift your presser foot, rotate your fabric by 90 degrees and continue sewing. This way you will get nice corners. Now cut the slit open lengthwise, and into the corners you're cutting through both fabric layers. Now turn the zipper pocket to the inside through the slit and pin along this slit. The top edge of your back piece as well as the pocket piece should lay flush now, and we are pinning the slit all the way around. Now cut a piece of zipper to size. You can find the exact measurements in the written instructions, but it should be 2 centimeters longer as the slit so that it protrudes 1 centimeter beyond the slit on each side. And now pin the zipper into the slit to the wrong fabric side so that the slit remains 1 centimeter wide. Here you can see how the zipper protrudes the slit, so we can stitch over the zipper on the short ends. Now sew the zipper in and top stitch the slit at the same time. Stitch as close to the edge as possible. We're using a regular straight stitch. I'd recommend to use your hand wheel when sewing the short ends because we are stitching over the zipper, and this way your needle won't break. This is what it should look like from the outside and from the inside. And here you can see how we've stitched over the zipper, and you can now cut off any excess zipper. And now fold your zipper pocket upwards so that the side and top edges are laying flush, and pin them together along all the open edges. Now sew together all the open edges. I'm using my serger here, but you can also use your regular sewing machine. Make sure not to catch any of your back piece, so basically you are just sewing over the pocket piece. You will find two markings at your storage pocket piece at the top and at the bottom. Now fold the piece so that the right fabric sides are together and both markings meet, and pin along both short edges. Now we're gonna stitch along the short edges, which are basically the sides, with a regular straight stitch and a 1 cm seam allowance. And then I will trim off the corners within the seam allowance at the side of the storage pocket, which is closed. Turn the pocket right side out and form the corners nicely, and then pin the open edges all the way around 1 cm to the wrong fabric side and pin in place. This is what it should look like now. And next, pin everything flat together so that the edges are laying flush and no open edge remains. Now take your back piece from lining fabric where we have marked the position of the storage pocket, pin a storage pocket to the right fabric side of your lining back piece right into the markings. We are only pinning at the sides and at the bottom, and the side of the storage pocket, which is still open, is at the bottom. Now stitch the pocket to the back piece as close to the edge as possible. We are sewing at the sides and at the bottom. The top remains open. Leave your needle in the fabric as soon as you reach a corner. Lift your presser foot, rotate your fabric and continue sewing. This is the final result, and now give your storage pocket a good press. And if you want, you can now sew over the pocket again to divide the storage pocket into little compartments. Now take the center front piece and the side pieces from main fabric. You will find markings here, and now place the side pieces right sides facing to the center front piece so that the markings meet. Sew everything together with a 1 cm seam allowance and a regular straight stitch, and last but not least, press the seam allowances open and thus the seam flat. You will now need your front piece from main fabric, your lining front piece and your zipper. The length of the zipper can be found in the written instructions, or just cut it in the same length as your zipper strip. Fold your zipper in half so that you can mark the center of your zipper with tailor's chalk. Next, pin your zipper to the top edge of your front piece from main fabric with right sides facing. There is also a marking which marks the center. If you're insecure which is the top is more rounded as the bottom, and also the center front piece is narrower at the top than at the bottom. Pin so that the zipper teeth are facing the fabric, and I'm using clips here because we are going to pin the lining piece to it as well. If you don't have clips, you can just use your pins and pin them vertical. If you want, you can now baste the zipper in place by sewing with a large regular straight stitch, or you can, like me, just continue with the lining front piece. Grab the lining front piece and pin it to the front piece as well. Right fabric sides are facing, and the zipper is now sandwiched right between the front lining piece and the front piece. And as you can see, the lining front piece now lays flush with the front piece from main fabric. Now stitch with a regular straight stitch. Stitch as close to the teeth as possible, and if you have, use a zipper presser foot. This is what it will look like now, and as here is a curve, I'm gonna clip into the seam allowance along the whole seam. I will stop approximately 2 mm before the seam so I won't catch it, and I am not clipping into the zipper, only into my lining and main fabric layer. Now turn the front right side out and pull out the zipper. Form out the edge nicely. Both front pieces should be laying flush along the edges. Now pin both front pieces together along the zipper, and once everything is pinned in place, top stitch along the edge as close to the edge as possible with a regular straight stitch. This is what it will look like now, and now take your zipper strip, fold it lengthwise so that the wrong fabric sides are facing, and press. Now take the zipper strip and pin it to the top of your zipper so that both raw edges of the zipper strip are laying flush with the top edge of your zipper, and as you can see now, the zipper is already covered. Now take your top from main fabric and mark the center of the zipper with a pin, and I'm doing the same thing at my top piece. This is how the top and the front piece are coming together now. Start by pinning at the front. Open the zipper as wide as possible, it will make it way easier. And then pin at the sides and distribute the fabric in between. As this part is a bit tricky, I would recommend to bend the top towards you. It will make it easier to pin everything nice in place. And basically you are now pinning the top, the zipper and also the zipper strip, while the zipper strip is sandwiched between the top and the zipper. This is what it should look like from the outside and this from the inside. And now stitch everything in place. Stitch as close to the zipper teeth as possible. I'm using a zipper presser foot here again and a regular straight stitch. You can always leave the needle in the fabric and lift your presser foot in order to move the slider. Now place it with the front lining piece facing up and take the top from lining fabric. Pin the lining top to the zipper so that the right fabric side of your top lining piece and your top main piece are facing, and the zipper as well as the zipper strip are now sandwiched in between both top pieces. If you turn everything over, you can now see the seam that you just have sewn, and now from this side you can sew on the top from lining fabric by stitching on the same exact seam. This is what it will look like now. And now again I'm going to clip into the seam allowance along the whole seam up to approx 2 millimeters before the seam, and I'm clipping into the lining fabric as well as the main fabric, but not into the zipper. Now turn the top right side out, pull out the zipper and form the curve out nicely. If you close the zipper, you can already recognize the front piece. Next, pin both top pieces together along the zipper and then top stitch at the top close to the zipper. This is what it should look like now, and as mentioned before, now top stitch at the top close to the seam. Now take your outer front pieces from main fabric. This is how they should come together. They will be pinned right sides facing to the sides of your front piece. Make sure that the zipper strip is folded down and then pin everything in place, and it's pretty normal that the tip of the outer front piece is protruding at the bottom because the edges should meet at 1 centimeter seam allowance where we stitch and not at the cutting line. Now sew everything together with a 1 centimeter seam allowance and your regular straight stitch. And when you are sewing over the zipper, I'd recommend to use your hand wheel so that your needle won't break. And this is the part of the outer front piece which is protruding. Now turn the bag over so that you can see the lining and take your outer front pieces from lining fabric. These will be attached the same way as you did with the outer front pieces from main fabric. Just pin them right sides facing to the lining fabric. Basically, the front piece is now sandwiched between both outer front pieces from lining and main fabric. Now turn it over once again so that you can see the stitch line, and we are sewing from this side so that you can stitch right on the stitch line. And here again, use the hand wheel when sewing over the zipper so your needle won't break. This is the final result. And now pull both pieces outwards so that they are laying flush and the wrong fabric sides are facing, and then pin everything in place and top stitch at the outer front pieces close to the seam. Now trim off the excess seam allowances. Your front piece should look like this now. Now it's time to cut your webbing to size. You can find a detailed explanation and overview of the length you will need for your strap, but also you will need 1 or 2 connecting pieces to attach the fasteners. These connecting pieces are 10 centimeters long, and you will need 1 if you choose the side release buckle and also the sewn-in strap, and you will need 2 connecting pieces if you're attaching 2 D-rings for an interchangeable strap. So check the instructions for the strap length that you will need. Now I'm going to explain how to make your own strap if you're not going to use ready-made webbing. For the connecting pieces, you will need a fabric square which is 15.2 centimeters wide and 10 centimeters long, and also you will need some interfacing H250 which is also 10 centimeters long but only half as wide, so 7.6 centimeters, and as mentioned before, you will either need 1 or 2 of those. Once you figured out the length that you will need for your strap, add another 2 centimeters of length to the strap if you're going to sew the side release buckle or the sewn-in adjustable strap. And if you want to sew an interchangeable strap with D-rings, add another 4 centimeters of seam allowance to the length. The fabric piece for your strap is 15.2 centimeters wide, and then you will need some more interfacing H250 which has exact the same length as your strap, but is only half as wide. That means 7.6 centimeters wide. Take your connecting piece and fold it so that the short sides are laying together and press in half. Unfold and fold both edges in so that they meet right in the middle and press again. Now take your interfacing and press it to the wrong fabric side of your connecting pieces. Use the ironing edges as a guide so that you can place it right in the center. Now repeat the previous steps and fold the edges in so that they meet right in the center and press it in place. Fold everything lengthwise once again and press in place. Your connecting piece now consists of 4 fabric layers, and then top stitch close to the edge along the long edges. I will do this at both sides so that it looks symmetrical. This is the final connecting piece. You will either need 1 or 2 as mentioned before. To make the strap, the steps are exactly the same. First, press it in half lengthwise to mark the center with a pressing edge. Unfold and fold the edges in so that they meet the center and press in place at some spots. This is just for our orientation to position the interfacing correctly. Now press your interfacing strip to the wrong fabric side of your strap right in the center. Use the pressing edges as a guide. If you're going for the side release buckle or the adjustable sewn-in strap, fold one of the 2 short edges 2 cm to the wrong fabric side and press in place. And if you want to make an interchangeable strap with D-rings, fold both short edges 2 cm to the inside and press in place. I'm going to use the side release buckle, that's why I will just press in one of the short edges. Next, fold the strap lengthwise again to mark the center, and then unfold and fold the long edges inwards so they will meet right at the center and press everything in place. Now fold everything lengthwise once again and press in place. Your strap consists of 4 fabric layers now, and now it's time to top stitch close to the edge with a regular straight stitch. I'm stitching along both long edges and along the short edge, the one which I've pressed inwards. If you have pressed in both short edges, just stitch all the way around. And this is what your self-made strap looks like so far. Next, I'm going to show you how to attach the fasteners. I will start with the side release buckle, then the sewn-in strap, and last but not least the D-rings. Thread your connecting piece into the buckle, into the part in which the buckle is inserted. Form a loop and secure both ends. Now attach the connecting piece to one of the outer front pieces with right sides facing, and the side of the buckle that will be on the outside later should now face your fabric. Attach the connecting piece so that it's right in the center of your outer front piece. And at the opposite side, the strap is pinned to the outer front piece as well, right at the center. If you have sewn it yourself, now all the raw edges are together. For the sewn-in strap, the method is the same. Thread the connecting piece through your rectangular buckle ring. I don't have one, so I'm using a slider instead. Attach it to one of the outer front pieces with right sides facing so that it's right in the center, and pin it in place. And at the opposite side, the strap is pinned to the outer front piece as well, right at the center. If you have sewn it yourself, now all the raw edges are together. For an interchangeable strap, we now need to attach 2 D-rings. Thread the connecting pieces into your D-rings, form a loop and secure the ends. Pin the connecting pieces to the right fabric sides of the outer front pieces of your main fabric so that they are laying in the center and all raw edges are laying flush. No matter what kind of fasteners you're sewing, in every case the strap and or the connecting pieces are now being stitched to your outer front pieces within the seam allowance with a regular straight stitch. Next, we're going to attach the back, and the first very important thing is to open the main zipper, because otherwise you won't be able to turn your bag right side out. Fold your strap so that it fits on the front piece, and also all kinds of fasteners. Next, take your back piece from main fabric and pin it to your front piece so that the right fabric sides are facing, and pin it all the way around. You might notice that the back piece is smaller than the front piece, which is normal. Just make sure that all the edges are laying flush. This is what it should look like now. Next, sew everything together all the way around using a regular straight stitch and our 1 centimeter seam allowance. Go really slowly here, and at the short sides I'd recommend to use your hand wheel because this part can be really bulky. And as here are corners, leave your needle in the fabric as soon as you reach a corner. Lift your presser foot, rotate your fabric and continue sewing. This is what it should look like now, and now we're gonna take our back piece from lining fabric and we're gonna pin it to our front piece from lining fabric, right sides facing all the way around. This should be the side where you can see our main zipper. Just pin it to the front piece all the way around the same way as you just did it with your main fabric piece. This part can be a bit tricky, especially if you are having a full strap inside, so just take your time and pin all the way around, and at the top we're gonna leave a turning gap of approximately 12 centimeters. The thicker your fabric is, the bigger the turning gap should be. I'm leaving a turning gap of approximately 12 centimeters. It's the minimum. This is what it should look like, and here I've put 2 pins to mark my turning gap. I will start at the red pin and sew right until the pink pin. Flip your bag so you can see the stitch line that you just stitched, and you can stitch right on this stitch line. Go really slowly here and also use your hand wheel at the short sides because this part is really bulky. And then just sew everything together with a regular straight stitch and the 1 centimeter seam allowance. And don't forget to leave your turning gap at the top. This is what it should look like, and here you can see my turning gap. Now clip off the corners up to 2 millimeters before the seam. And also, as here are curves, clip into the seam allowance right up to 2 millimeters before the seam. Then turn your bag right side out through the turning gap. This can be a bit fumbly, but I'm pretty sure you can do it. And once you're done, shape the bag and the corners nicely. To close the turning gap, first fold the fabric 1 centimeter to the wrong fabric side and pin in place at the top of your lining back piece. Then pin the lining to the back so that the seam between the back piece and the top is just covered. Place your pins vertically here as we're going to sew from the outside, and once everything is pinned in place, remove all horizontal pins. Next, we're going to stitch from the outside right in the ditch, that means right at the seam, using a regular straight stitch. And I'd recommend to use a thread color which matches your bag so that you can't see it. And here you can see that the turning gap is now closed. And from the outside, no seam is visible. Next, I'm going to show you how to thread the strap of the side release buckle and also the sewn-in strap with the rectangular buckle ring. For the interchangeable strap, please jump into the next chapter. First, I'm going to thread the strap through both openings of my slider so that a large loop is formed. Now you got two options. As shown left, sew the strap in place. Everything is secure and nothing dangles, but you can only pull your strap to a limited extent, and if you're having a small body circumference, you might not be able to wear the bag as a bum bag, only as crossbody. Or alternatively, you can choose to not sew the end of the strap down. Obviously, the disadvantage is that the end dangles loosely, but the advantage is that you can pull your strap as tight as you want, and that it fits as a bum bag even if you have a small body circumference. First, I'm going to explain the threading for the sewn-on strap end, then for the loose strap end, and then for the interchangeable strap. Thread the end of your strap through your side release buckle, or through your rectangular D-ring, or through your slider, whatever you've attached to your bag. And as you can see here, the strap end should now lay on the inside of the strap itself. Now thread the ends of the strap through your slider again through both openings so that a small loop is formed inside the big loop. I am struggling a bit as my strap is a bit too thick for my openings, but here I made it. The strap end lays now inside the loop and is now being threaded through the other opening as well, so that a small loop is formed within the large loop. This is how it should look like now, and this is how we thread it. And now we're going to sew the strap end in place. First, pull it tight and then pin it in place. The strap end is only pinned and stitched to one layer of strap. You can see it. This is the strap end, this is one strap layer, and now I'm going to stitch the strap end down with a regular straight stitch. Now the strap is done and you can now adjust it to your desired length. For the loose strap end, this is your starting situation. The slider is on your strap, and now the strap end is being threaded through your side release buckle or through your rectangular buckle ring or through your slider, whatever kind of fastener you're using, and the strap end is threaded so that the strap end is now laying on the outside and is not facing the back. Basically, this is the difference between the sewn-on strap end and the loose strap end. And now you only need to thread the strap end through the slider again, through both openings, and once this is done, your strap is ready and you can now adjust it to your desired length. And this is how you thread an interchangeable strap. If you're using ready-made webbing, seal the ends with a lighter. My webbing is made of polyester, so this works really well. And then thread your strap through your slider through both openings so that a loop is formed. And then thread your strap on the right through one of the D-rings with a snap hook and pin it in place. This will be sewn on here in a bit, but first I'm threading the rest. And then thread the other end through a D-ring with snap hook too, so that the strap end is now laying on the inside and forms like a half heart. And then the strap end is being threaded through the slider again through both openings so that a small loop is formed inside the large loop. Now pull your strap end tight and pin the strap end to the strap, but only to one strap layer. You can fold the outer strap layers aside, it will make it easier. So you're pinning the strap to one strap layer as here. And now we're going to stitch down both strap ends using a regular straight stitch, and I always try to stitch as close to the D-rings as possible. And now your strap is done and you can adjust it to your desired length.